When you save on auto insurance for driving safe with USAA Safe Pilot, you'll feel like a big deal, even in a traffic jam. Save up to 30% with USAA Safe Pilot. Restrictions apply.
B-Pod Studios.
It's the Anthony Gargano Show on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, one of the great Flyers is on the line, and I just love him. He became a fabric of the area and just a great, great Flyer. Our man Bundy, Chris Therien, on the Comcast Business Hotline. Bundy!
What's up, guys? You know, it's funny. I was actually on Facebook the other day. I'll just say this to start off a Flyer story. And it was you, me, Martinez, and Glenn McNow back in the final in 2010 in Chicago. You know, and those were great moments. We were doing radio shows, covering the team. And I know what you're talking about, listening to a little bit of the show. You know, we want to get back to that feeling of community.
I remember it was like yesterday, Bundy. It was yesterday. We went out. Remember, we went out to eat, and we ran into a bunch of the Blackhawks. Remember that?
We were at that Smith and Walensky's, I think, down by the water. They were eating. Yeah. But then we went down to Harry Carey's. Remember that other bar in between games? And we had a great treat. And you know what? That was the best because it was really, to me, like I was out of hockey. It was my first broadcast in a couple of years, and to me, that was like the community. You know, the feeling of unity between everybody in the city, and that's what happens when your teams do well. And we've seen it happen with the Flyers in good times. I've been a part of it as a player. I've covered it as a broadcaster. Didn't get over the top, but you know, got deep in the playoffs to the finals, and it just shows you how invested people are in the Philadelphia Flyers through all times, but especially in really good times.
Well, and you experienced it, again, like you said, both as a player and a broadcaster, and you saw this town go wild, right? Like it's almost hard for younger people to fathom, but this town went nuts all those playoff years. The Flyers were relevant is the best way to put it.
Yeah, and you know what's funny too, Anthony? You know, like, and I've been here a long time now in the city, not born and raised like you or a lot of others, but you know, I've had I have a close tie to like all sports teams. Like, I love going to Eagles games. I'm an Eagles season ticket holder. Haven't been for 20 years. Time I've spent with my kids over the years, and I've loved that. Phillies. I mean, last year was a great run. You know, another team I think though, it kind of is a little bit, in a way similar to what the Flyers are going through, was the Sixers. Such a mess the way they did it because they almost fooled their fan base into years saying, "Oh, you know, we're gonna tear it down to build it back up," and everybody knew that those high picks would hopefully do something. And you know what's left is Embiid, and you know hopefully they have a good spring. But the Flyers are in that, except they don't have any draft capital, you know, in terms of where they're at right now, and that's the biggest problem I think for the team looking forward. Now, there's a lot of things that I've seen the last few years that I find to be absolutely amazing, that have really been better since 7 years ago when Mr. Snyder died. Things changed then because I think they really lost their team. And even going back to Bob Clark saying at that same year, Anthony, like Ed Snyder was the Flyers. Yeah. And so, unfortunately, whatever happened after that, there was a mantle change, and people came in and, you know, not Ed's fault, but there was a change even 3 years before that. I said with Peter Luco, when he left, Dave Scott took over. And so there was a whole new balance and a shift of power in the dynamic in the corporate front office. And I think that they, through a little bit of their own maybe self-reflection, looking in the mirror, realized that there was something that reverberated through this community about the Flyers, whether they were good, bad, excellent, horrible over the years. They were to me, the Flyers were always the staple in the community. And that's what this group needed to get back to. On the business side, I believe that they have done that. I believe that they've turned a page in a lot of ways, are trying to get back to it. The hiring of Dan Hilferty now, to me, is going to be one of the most significant things in Philadelphia. I think it is an absolute luxury to have a guy like that working for this team now. Like as he'll be the trustee or the board of directors or the CEO, but having a guy like Hilferty who understands the fabric of Philadelphia, the sports in Philadelphia, he was a primary reason why the World Cup will be here in 4 years. I think helping with other people in the office that had been here. Valerie Camillo's not from here. She came from a baseball community, and I think there was a little bit of a learned experience on her end as well. This I think, brings it all together, and when they figure out what they're going to do with the hockey office in the front end, that's going to be the part that's going to take a little bit more time because it's really, really hard to patch everything together overnight. And you want to do it right in a sense that you don't become the Buffalo Sabres or the New York Islanders where they were irrelevant for 15 or 20 years, making the playoffs just a couple times. So that's the task because this team means too much to the community. It's a major national brand as well. It's an iconic brand, and it needs to be brought back to that full state that we've known it to be. And there's a lot of good people in place right now doing things, but there's still work.
I agree with you on a lot of things you say. My biggest issue, though, is I'm just not a believer in a corporation owning a sports franchise. I'm just not. I look at it and go, ultimately, you got to deal with stock prices and the board, and you got shareholders. It's just antithetical to owning a sports team. It's everything that they became a fabric of the city because Ed Snyder's singular. The Eagles are a fabric of the community because of Jeffrey Lurie. The Sixers with Josh Harris. I mean, like John Middleton. I mean, that's why sports franchises need to have a singular owner, not owned by a corporation. Because all those people, like you said, are great people, and Dan's really smart and all, but ultimately, he can't nurture it the way a singular owner can.
Well, and you know what, Anthony, I understand what you're saying because I think Philadelphians, especially with the Flyers, were treated to such a luxury with a guy like Ed Snyder, who really did adopt that, Fast and Furious family attitude, right? That's the sell. And that was part of what the Flyers' lure was, the carnival. I was so hopeful after this year's carnival because I really did see a lot of what was there from the past. A lot of those fans had come back. But, Peter Luukko was a great representative of the Flyers when he was here. And that ended quickly. He was the face to the Flyers that we hadn't seen. So I'm hoping that Hilferty can now be that transitional figure. Dave Scott was not that guy. He didn't understand sports at all. He did a great job with Comcast in his years as a regular business person, probably made a ton of money doing it. But hockey and sports wasn't his thing, and it was Ed Snyder that put him in there. But Luukko was very much, if you go back to it, and I know
Anthony, Peter real well. I love Peter,
face.
I love Peter.
So that's what I hope Dan does.
It's the Anthony Gargano Show on 97.5 The Fanatic.
For Saatchi and Saatchi.
You're gonna love this house, Sergeant Riley.
Just look at these high ceilings.
The upstairs is even better. You can read the Constitution from your window.
Upstairs? I don't see any stairs.
Oh, just strap on this harness and climb right up.
Up this rock climbing wall.
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Like saving up to 15% with our claims-free discount if you haven't filed a claim in 5 years, even if you've been with another provider. Learn more today at usaa.com/insuremyhome.
USAA.
Discounts vary by location and may not be available in all states. Restrictions apply. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
97.5 The Fanatic.
I got to ask you because let's get back to the hockey piece of it for a second.
Yep.
See, here's the issue. Like, this was a year where, and we're talking to the great Bundy. We love Bundy, man. He really is great flyer and great part of the community. This was a draft where you could actually make a big inroad in changing the face of your franchise with the talent at the top of this draft. And it's just mind-boggling to know. You brought up the Sixers. Well, obviously, you needed the tank. I mean, what they did when they traded Ghost and had to pay first round, all those draft picks, to take him. I mean, it's ridiculous what they did and how they squandered draft picks. You know, and then you go hire Tortorella, who I like, is a really good coach, but he's going to make it better than what you should be.
Yeah, and these are all things that we said on Still the Goalie, the podcast I'm a part of, Anthony. You know, they're all valid points. You're right. Like I said last year in June, why would you get a Tortorella here?
Right.
Like, he's going to coach guys up, or he's going to make them more relevant than their actual talent will allow. And he did that. They probably ended up winning 6-7 more games than they should have if they would have had another coach. And in turn, you're going to end up. But again, there's another side to that, right? Like, you know, to me, the one part of Torts was, you know, I know he doesn't have any history in Philadelphia. You can say I know the franchise. You don't until you get here. And so, but one thing he's done is tried to at least instill a baseline again of a compete level, what's meaningful, important things on the ice that you have to do beyond just goal scoring. You know, how to be a good teammate. You know, how to compete in the hardest moments of a game.
Listen, I love the guy. I would have hired him a year later.
Yeah, but he made
I just wanted the tank this year. Go get Bedard, and then I'll go hire Torts.
Yeah, and that's exactly kind of what people had said, and what I had thought along the process was that he's going to be too good for the guys he's got here, and so listen, he's going to be here for 3 more years, and the Flyers, unfortunately, this is the one thing I do know. Go look at every single team that has won Stanley Cups in this era. Every one of them had major impacts from guys that were drafted to the top 3 in the NHL draft. Chicago with Kane and Taves, number 3 overall. Crosby 1, Malkin 2, Fleury, you know, first overall going back. Nathan McKinnon in Colorado, the first overall pick. You know, so every team that's won, they've had a little bit of pain, but they've also done it through the draft. And I think that's part of the patience that I don't think that Chuck certainly couldn't do. And I think that there needed to be a message, and I said this, Anthony, 3 or 4 years ago, they needed to move on from Giroux a lot quicker than they did, because there had to be a turn. You got to keep your team relevant, and you have to trade sometimes your best players to get a package back that's going to make you more relevant and younger down the road. That didn't happen. They did get a nice piece from Owen Tippett coming back. That looks like it's panned out. But there's a lot of things they need to do, and the biggest thing that they didn't do, which they now are, they needed to tell the fans, this is not a winning model. We need a rebuild. We need a rebuild yesterday, and we're going to ask you for patience while we do this. The key to the rebuild now is to do it right. You have got to do it right and not rush the process. Get the good free agents you can in when they're available to you, but you have to rebuild getting high draft picks. And I wish the Flyers were possibly drafting higher than what the outlook is now. Maybe they win the lottery again like they did with the Nolan Patrick year. But then you're hitching on the hockey gods to do that favor for you, and I don't like that.
Nah, because now you just you're leaving it up to chance. I agree with you. You're just leaving it in your praying. I mean, you know, that's their problem has been just no plan. You know, and some of the moves are just mystifying. They're drafting. They need to
those moves. Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. Like some of their drafting. Like, you know, look, you have Caulfield. Like, right? Like, think about it. You could have had him, right? You could have had Keandre Miller. Yeah, I mean they just flub picks, and then they're free agent signing. They overpay for guys that made no sense. Oh, I get so frustrated.
Yeah, and then the other problem with free agency too, Anthony, and this is why you got to get it right. You don't get a good free agent unless you got a good team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's part of that, you know, like you're saying, like, well, you want to go get Johnny. Like, I'll be honest with you, the best move that maybe didn't happen was not getting Gaudreau.
Yeah, like, I hear
what would that look like? You know, I mean, because he didn't make Columbus any better. Is Columbus a better team on paper than the Flyers? So that's all I'm saying is you got to be sure with free agents. But if you get a look at a guy 1 year where you have the money and everything is together, you're going to want to be able to sell to that free agent that, hey, we have a team that's going to give you a chance to hoist the trophy in June. And that's all a free agent wants, is that opportunity to go to a team where they have stuff built already and where he's going to have an opportunity, if he hasn't won, to go out and add to being part of the solution and fixing it.
Yeah, I hear you. Bundy, listen, you have a book out, Road to Redemption, that's available on Amazon. Tell us about it, Bundy.
Well, yeah, it came out in October, but really, Anthony, my story here is one of recovery. I recovered from alcohol over 12 years ago, and what I've done in the Philadelphia area to this point has been remarkable. From my eyes, people that have helped me. I've partnered with Pennsylvania Recovery Center, which we have 2 spots, one in Fishtown, one in Phoenixville. I've created the Bundy Recovery website, which is an easier way to get a hold of us. You just go on to bundyrecovery.com. And you can fill out, the page, get a hold of us, and we'll deem, what proper treatment model for you, whether it's here. If you live in Montana, we'll find you treatment in Montana or wherever suitable for you. But it's a lot of things, a lot of people struggling, and that does not include the mental health aspect of this, which I'm prevalent in as well. We have Pennsylvania behavioral health as well. Just a lot of great stuff, Anthony, in this area. And you know what? It showed me really, playing for the Flyers and being in this community, what I see now in the recovery community and addiction from, drugs, alcohol, mental health. This town has got so much heart, and I love it for that. That's why I love Philadelphia. That's why people are passionate about the sports, because I see the same thing. I see the same heart involved in what I'm trying to do right now and how that support has been relevant to me. Man, I can't thank people enough in this area, and there's a lot of people struggling. Just don't be afraid to reach out to me.
That's right.
BundyRecovery.com. Got great places for you in the book. Yeah, Road to Redemption. Got a great story. It's got an ending that it's got great hockey stories, but an ending that I think if you're looking for a push yourself, you'll be able to hopefully find that part of that recipe in that book for you. So I appreciate that, Anthony.
Oh, God bless you, brother. That's very important. All right. So listen, we love you, buddy. And you take care of yourself.
Thanks,
Good
pal.
luck with everything, man. And, save the Flyers, man. All right? Save the Flyers.
Yeah, we're doing a lot. There's a lot of great voices, I can tell you that. And, I love to say it, let's go Flyers. Because, you know what, they will be prevalent again, but he goes through ups and downs. But the sooner the better, but I do ask for patience. Let people do their jobs and try to get this thing right.
Thanks, Bundy. Good stuff, buddy. We appreciate it. The great Chris Therien on the Comcast Business Hotline.
When you save on auto insurance for driving safe with USAA Safe Pilot, you'll feel like a big deal,